Uh, Happy New Year to everyone. So today, the lesson is going to be more informative and not more of a walkthrough guide, because today we are going to talk about slicing, which can be done either manually or automatically by your slicer. So, and I'm going to show you what I mean. The slicing programs have recommended values, so you can just input your STL, change some small options, and put it on your printer. But if you don't have a super, let's say, costly printer, which does great prints by itself, you may want to tweak some changes on the printer and make your prints better, or even just make your prints print. Because if it's a very cheap printer, you may actually need to know some of those things. So depending on what kind of printer you have, you will maybe need to understand the slicing programs. Let's say from 1 to 10, somebody may need to understand it 0.2, but somebody may need to understand it 9 or 10 of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. So let me share my screen and let's start talking about the slicing programs. Okay, there we are. So, as we talk for the sixth webinar, this is the sixth webinar, and it's the first webinar regarding the slicing techniques. So we used the 3D modeling, the 3D modeling program called Tinkercad, and hopefully every one of you now knows how to export an STL. So hopefully everybody has an STL on their screen right now, on their PC screen right now, and they can use it. So I also have an STL, and now I'm opening the Cura program. And one of you that has also downloaded the Ultimate Cura program can download it and maybe click on some stuff with me, but it's not really needed today. What you really need to do today is just follow through, get some info, and do it by yourself after the lesson. So here we are. This is the Cura Slicer. This is the interface of the Cura Slicer. When you download the program, this is the window that will come up. So here, actually, the program asks you to add your printer. Ask you to tell the program what type of printer do you have. So you can either add a networked printer, which means that your printer is connected either by Wi-Fi or by a cable to your PC. So you can just maybe the Cura Slicer can find your printer without even trying, or the simple way, the manual way, you can click here, add the non-network printer, and a very big list of printer manufacturers come up. Why doesn't it close? So as you can see, and I scroll, all those names are printer manufacturers. So the reason I'm actually choosing the Cura Slicer is because there are so many printers here. So most probably all of you can find your printer at that list. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go and find my printer. So my personal choice, since I don't have a lot of money to spend for a personal printer, is the Creality Ender 3 Pro, which is a value for money printer. It's created by Creality, so I'm going to find Creality 3D here. I will click on Creality 3D, and a list of printers come up. Now I'm going to find my printer, which is Creality Ender 3 Pro. Click on it. Now another window comes up, which has some values. And as you can see, all of the values are pre-made. And this is the good thing with Cura. Cura knows what those values must be. It knows, for example, X, Y, and Z are my printers. Let's say printing cube. It's the place that he can print. So my maximum values, if I print something, let's say I print the biggest cube that I can print, is this one, 220 by 220 by 250. Here, as you can see, there is a code. It's a start G code and the end G code. We don't need to change any of this. And also, this is the extruder settings. The only thing that we may need to change for special printers is the material diameter. But most of the printers used right now generally the home printers use 1.75 diameter, and this is the diameter of your filament. So for those of you that know what a filament is, it's the plastic that we use to print things, that we melt the plastic and print things. So this plastic has a diameter of 1.75. If you have another, a modified, a custom printer, maybe you will need to change that. Or another one, let's say a very big printer. So we just click next. We don't need to do any of this here, especially if you are a newbie on the subject. And we're here. So what I need to do is actually slice my 3D model, sorry, my 3D model. So I will find my 3D model. Let me put it here on the screen. So I have my chameleon here, and what I will just need to do is just take it and put it inside the program, just by dragging it. So this is my chameleon right here. And now what I will need to do is properly slice the model. So I have here on the upper right corner, I have the recommended values. And if I click custom, I have the custom values. So we will go through both of them. If you remember what I said in the beginning, is that those of you that don't have that have a very reliable, let's say, printer, can actually use just this interface here, which has, well, let's go through them and you will understand what I mean. So there are 5 things that you can change here for your print. The first one is the profiles. The profiles is the width of your print, let's say. And in order to show you that, I have a very good icon here. There it is. So on the upper case, we have a bigger width of your layer, and on the lower case, we have a shorter width of your layer. What that means is at the lower case problem here, it's your print will be more accurate, but it will be slower to print since it goes through again and again to the same place. I think this is double the line of this one. So most probably you will have double the accuracy, but double the time to print it. So basically, you will have to decide if you want your print to be accurate or if you want your print to be fast. And here come the profiles. So the profiles right here are actually that thing. The small values are the lower case, like this one. So your, let's say I click here, 0.12. 0.12 millimeters is the width of my print right now. So if I slice it, slicing takes a little bit of time. As I told you, is 0.12. I slice my print and I go to preview. I will show you afterwards what preview is. I have 402 slices, 402 layers right here. Okay, if I go down, you can see layer by layer. This is the print inside. And you can see layer by layer. Those are the layers that I print. So I have 0.12 millimeters of a layer, and I have 402 layers. If I change that and I click 0.2, which is a bigger type of layer. So if here we go to the uppercase choice, and I slice it again, instead of 402 layers, I have 241 layers, which is almost half of it. Which means that I print really faster. Oh, here you can also see, I forgot to tell you, on the bottom of the screen, it shows you the time, 1 hour, 32 minutes. And with 0.12, which is the more accurate print, we will need 2 hours and 42 minutes, almost double the time. So this is the first thing you have to choose. You need to choose if you want your print to be fast or if you want your print to be accurate and better designed, better printed. The second thing you need to choose is the infill, the percentage of the material that you will have inside your print. Which means that if I change that to 100% and I click slice, first of all, I will use a lot of material because I will have a massive part of print. So let me show you how it is inside right now. So as you can see inside, it's fully printed. But if I change that sorry, there it is. If I change that to 20%, there it is. It becomes, this is the 20% of infill. The program chose a pattern that will keep my print steady when I take it on my hand, so I won't break it, but it prints faster because it has 20% infill. Let me also show you a picture of that. So this is what I previously tried to show you. Maybe it's easier in this picture to show. Here on the left one, we have a small percentage of infill. And on the right one, we have a big percentage of infill. You also have to decide, do I want my print to be strong or do I want my print to be fast? And also not use a lot of material, because on the first case with small layers or big layers, it doesn't matter. The material is also on both cases the same. But at this, as you can understand here, at this problem, we have to also choose if we want to use a lot of material to make it strong, or less material and make it less strong. Generally, people use 20% of infill. So when you do your first print, maybe this is the choice you have to take. And also, well, I won't decide on the profiles anyway. So let's continue. The gradual infill, we don't really have to talk about that because it's a new thing. You don't need to talk about that right now. And also don't click on it if you don't know what this does. Let's move on to the support and the adhesion. So let me go back to the prepare. Here, as you can see, my chameleon, if I start printing it, it will fall down. And also, it won't only fall down. If I start printing here, the plastic, the melted plastic will fall down here. And my print will fail. And let me also remind you what we talked about. We talked about a little bit on Tinkercad on the supports. So this is, okay, let me show the picture first. So if I have a 30% of angle here or a 45% of angle here, I can print my layer by layer by layer by layer like that. Like that. But if I have a bigger angle, then my layers will start to fall down, will start to fail to print layer by layer by layer by layer. So what I need to do is create supports, create also plastic supports in order to help my print continue printing on this direction. So if I tell my program here to add supports, I just click on it. The program now knows that I decide to use supports. So I click slice. The program decides where the supports will be because it knows that I have the Ender 3 Pro printer and it knows how my printer works. So if I go to preview, the program will decide and say, you know what, Marcos, you will need to put supports here, as we talked before, on the head. You will need supports here on the hands, here, on those hands here, and maybe a little bit down here. So the program knows exactly where the supports should be. And most probably you will not need to change that thing ever until you are very sure that you know where to put supports, because Cura does a very good job at using automatic supports on your print. Believe me, it does it better than you, even better than me. So this is the one thing you need to do. You just click on the supports, and if your print doesn't need supports, you just the Cura will know and will not use supports. And the last thing is the type of adhesion. So let me see.
Marcos?
Yes, tell me.
Marcos, okay, sorry, just a small break. If participants have any questions,
Okay,
I can see that
Simina
has asked about the difference in the quantity of material when slicing with 0.12 or 0.20 layer height. You can see her answer, her question in the chat.
Okay, for some reason, hold on a minute. Give me a minute, guys, because I can't see the chat for some reason. Sorry about that. Okay, okay, here it is. So why the difference in the quantity when slicing? So there is no difference on the quantity when you print 0.12 or 0.2. It's the same quantity of material. And
I'm
let
sorry,
me,
but the Cura, the software says in the bottom right, 11 grams and 3 point, I don't know what meters. And there is a difference between 0.12 and 0.2.
okay, so let me see that.
I don't know why.
Okay. So yes, it's basically a very small difference right there. Maybe because you know, let me show you a preview. Let me slice that. So
because probably it's because we have more layers and the geometry of each line, it's you know, the calculation of the material, it's different with more layers, but with smaller
overlapping
diameter.
fluids.
But the difference would be very small, as Marco said.
exactly, the difference
Okay,
is
thank you.
very small. So the difference is big on the layer, on the infill. As you saw, it's either 11 or 12 grams. When you change that, if I change the infill from 20% to 100% and slice it again,
And there's
instead
to be
of
some
11
overlapping
or,
to glue together.
sorry?
I'm saying that we have to have some overlapping to glue it. That's probably the difference.
Yes, probably. From layer to layer.
Yeah.
I can't be sure. I can't be sure for that answer, but you can actually see that there is a big difference if you change the infill. It becomes twice the grams.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let's continue. I think we don't have another question. All right. So the last thing we have to talk about is the adhesion, which is the way that you will actually stick your print on the bed. So if I slice right here, I actually clicked on the adhesion. Okay, well, actually, let me slice it without adhesion first, so you can see the difference. Okay, all right. So this is my print right here, and weird. Why is it happening? Okay. Anyway, as you can see, if I start printing from the first layer right here, I don't have a very good base. So if I continue printing like that, and if I didn't have those blue lines, which are the supports, my chameleon would fall down and would stop printing. The print would fail. The adhesion is a type of a way to create a base for your print in order to keep it at this orientation so that you can print without falling down or just generally print it on place. So if we slice it right now, the Cura decides what type of adhesion I should have. And as you can see, it added a base right here. So this is the first layer that my printer would do. And as you can see, it prints a very cute base in order for me to keep building on, and not fall down this time. So knowing that, you can actually decide those values. Let's say that these are my values I want. I want my profile to be 0.12. I want it to have an infill of 20%. Don't click on gradual infill if you don't know what it is. I want it to have automated supports and automated adhesion. Since I have that, I was here on prepare, right? Since I have that and I slice it, I can go to preview. Now I go to preview. Before I was trying to show you the differences. So you go to preview, you check layer by layer, if this is what you actually want to print. So here on the right, you can drag from layer to layer and see all your layers printed. If I actually, okay, perfect. Take that here. You can also see here how your print is going to print, exactly how it goes. So if I click stop, it stops. If I click start, it starts. So you can see the layer exactly how it prints, which is a very nice feature of the program. And if you are okay with the options, you can click save to disk. And click desktop, save, let's say Chameleon STL. And there you have it. This is a G code right here. Now you use this G code, you import it on your printer, either by Wi-Fi, either by a cable, either by USB port. It depends on the printer, but you have your G code to import it and start printing. And this is the easy way. I recommend that all of you, even if you don't have a very good printer, a very accurate printer that costs a lot, if you have a cheap printer, also try to play with those. If you have, if you told the Cura Slicer that, you know, Cura, I have this printer, so Cura knows that exactly what the printer model is, then you can change those, export the STL, and see for the first prints what goes on. If your printer is okay, if it prints good, if it prints bad, what are the problems? So I suggest that you do it when you go for the first time to print. You just need to change those, put a print, see if there is a problem. If there is no problem, there is no need to change anything else. You just continue print without any problem. But if you want your printer to be more accurate, if the print doesn't stack on the bed right, if problems like, for example, this one here occur, which is called over extrusion, or if problems like this one occur, which is under extrusion, well, that means that you will need to click here and go to custom settings and start playing with those things. So without further ado, we don't have any question. Yes, we don't have any question. I will start discussing about those options right here. So as you can see, so first of all, I will click here. We can either click on basic options, advanced options, or expert options. Even me, I'm not an expert, so we're going to talk about the advanced ones, which we'll also won't talk about all of them because there's a lot of it. We'll talk about the main ones. Okay. First of all, the quality of your print. We actually discussed about that. What we need to talk about here is the layer height. The layer height is, or the layer width that I talked before. It's better to call it layer height because we are talking about the z-axis, and z-axis is all about the height. This value 0.12 is actually this value 0.12. This is the only thing you need to change on the quality of your print, nothing else really. So this is 0.1.2, and what I want to talk about here, what I want to talk about here is that every printer has a servo motor, and you shouldn't, let's say, change that to 1.11. To 1.11. And why is that? Because the stepper there is no coincidence that the pre-made values are 0.08, 0.12, 0.16, and so on. They are dividends of 0.04. They are dividends of 4. Okay, so it means that the step for your printer is 4 here. For my printer, sorry, for my printer, the step is 4. And I really don't want to change that because I will mess up my servo motors and my print will not print as good as it would print. Keep that in mind. See what the step is for your printer and don't change that. Don't make it 0.12. You can make it 0.28 or 32 or 24, whatever. But I would change it based on the step of my printer. The next thing is the walls. So let me slice here fast. We can show, maybe you will understand by yourself what the wall is, but I will also show you. So the red ones, the red line is the outer walls and the green line is the inner walls. The outer walls are the walls that actually you will touch when you print your model. And the inner walls are more layers of walls in order to make your print strong. So another way to make your print strong is change the walls. Change the wall count, sorry. So here I have 3, and you can actually see number 3 here is also 1, the red one, 2, 3, the green lines. So I have 3 lines that are my walls. If I change that to 5 and slice it again, I will have a stronger print. I will have more material. I will need more material and print a little bit slower. My print will take a little bit more, but I have a very thick wall this time. I have a big wall and I have a strong print. So for example, for this print right here, for the chameleon, since I have those type of hands and all of that things, I wouldn't change that. I would keep it 5, because on places like the hands or here or the legs, like here, I have a very good quality of print. Okay, so this is all about the walls. Let's move on. Okay, for the top and bottom. Top and bottom refer to the first layer, this one, and the last layer, this one. Well, not exactly, not exactly. Let me rephrase that. So top, this is top. If you have a top surface, this is a top. But this is okay. This is a print with a very weird geometry. So I'm going to show you a picture, a better picture. So this is the top of the print, okay? You may see a difference here. They are the same print, but here on the right one, we have a very smooth surface instead of this one, that the surface is a bit rougher and it doesn't look that professional, maybe. So how does this happen? If you go to top bottom and you click enable ironing like that, what is going to happen is that your print, that your printer, when starts printing this layer right here, it will go through again one more time at the same exact height of the layer and print again. what's going to happen is that you will have is that on those places right here, on those places that were not printed well, it will put a little bit of material between those, and again and again and again, and it will make a very beautiful mess that will be more professional looking. So if you have a more beautiful print, let's say, you can enable ironing. I wouldn't suggest to do that right now. The first thing that you will need to do is actually make your printer work and not care about beautiful prints. But if you reach that point that you know that your printer prints well, you can actually enable that and keep that enabled for your future prints. Next one is the infill. We talked about the infill density. We keep it on 20%. And let's talk about the infill pattern. We have the cubic infill pattern, and as you can see, there are a lot of types of infill pattern. And the infill pattern, let me slice it, is the pattern that I have inside of my print. This one, the orange one. So this is the cubic, as it's called. If I change that to zigzag, I think zigzag is an international word. It changes to this pattern. So you can play with that. You can choose the pattern that you want, depending on your print, depending on what you would like to see your printer print. The mesh inside is important when you have a small wall, which means that if I have a wall count of 1 and slice it, for example, right now my inner mesh is very important because it's very important to keep my print strong and not fall down or not be broken when I use it. So I will need to make a good mesh inside in order for my print to be sturdy and strong. So maybe play with that a little bit. I would, for my first prints, I would choose the cubic one or the grid one, which are the two classic patterns. But you can always play with the infill patterns. Next thing we have to discuss is the material. So here we will stay for some time because we have to discuss about some things. Let me click here. Okay. So the printing temperature, which is 200 Celsius, is referring to the nozzle temperature. So at the point that your material is melting, what are the Celsius right there, right on the nozzle of your print, right? Let me showcase that. So right here, exactly here, that my printer is printing, the temperature here is 200 Celsius. At this point, at my nozzle, right here, that it prints. So do I need to change that? Most probably not. But the printing temperature does not depend on your printer. Keep that in mind. This is very important. The printing temperature, the temperature that you will print on your nozzle, does not depend on your printer. Well, it does, because you can't print metal, you can print just plastic, but The most important thing here is the filament. So what I will need to do in order to decide what kind of value I use here, I will need to go to my filament, to my plastic, see what type of filament I use, and find out the Celsius the temperature that I will need to print this type of filament. So let's do a small research, for example. Let me go to Amazon. Okay, this is for my girlfriend. Amazon filament. 3D printing. Okay, this one. All right. So, for example, Amazon Basics 3D printer filament. There it is. And as you can see, there are some informations here. Color, dark gray. Okay, this is the color. 1 kilogram is how much filament I have. 10.75 millimeters is the diameter. As you remember, the one we discussed at the beginning of the lesson. It's the diameter of my filament. And here, PLA 3D printing filament. The nozzle temperature recommended for this filament is 190 degrees to 220 degrees. So if you decide to print it to 200 to 300 Celsius, this is what's going to happen. You will print, the print will be something like that. Or something like that. On the other hand, if you print it on 150 Celsius, your print is going to be something like that, which is called under extrusion. The previous one was called over extrusion. I forgot to say that. I think I said that before. So it's very important to go on your filament and see exactly what the temperature is. And as you can see, there's one more thing written here: the bed temperature, which is 40 degrees to 55 degrees. So, as you can see here, I have 200 Celsius as a printing temperature and 60 degrees as a build plate temperature, the bed temperature. So 200 degrees is okay if I use this filament because the manufacturer told me that I can print it from 190 to 220. But the build plate temperature, which is the temperature of my bed, is 60. And the manufacturer told me that I have to have it from 40 to 55. So what do? I make it 40 or 45, which is better use mid temperatures, temperatures in the middle of what the manufacturer recommends. So this is one of the things that you will need to have in mind when you print your model. And here I will also want to talk about some, let's say, tips that I can tell when deciding what type of temperature you use. So for your printing temperature, you will need to use the middle temperature of what the manufacturer recommends. But as you can see, for some reason, the program gives you the printing temperature for the initial layer and the build plate temperature again for the initial layer. Why is that? The initial and final printing temperature, just keep those the same as the printing temperature. Don't change that, there is no need. But why does the program decides to give me a choice to change the initial layer temperature. And if you don't understand what the initial layer is the layer number 1. It's your first layer, this one, the first layer that you're going to print. So the program gives me this choice because I can change those values, I can tweak them a little bit in order for my print to stick on the bed better. So if I change that to 100 instead of 200, 210, and build plate temperature instead of 44 to 50 from 45 to 55, I'm not choosing to go further than the recommended values, but I have higher temperatures when using the initial layer. And what is going to happen here is that when I print my initial layer, since the temperatures are very high, this will help my model get stuck on the bottom of the bed and not fall down. So I think I don't have a picture to showcase that, so we will need to search it together. So if let me let's say let's write down 3D print adhesion fail. Okay, and let me show you what so these are some of the problems that may happen when you print and you fail to stick your model on the plate. And a better one, let me find a better one which is more okay, this one. Somebody tried to print the first layer right here and it didn't get stuck, or this one right here. The print didn't get, this is the first layer. Let's say this was a box. So somebody decided to print a box, but the filament didn't stick on the bed. So in order to prevent this problem from happening, I suggest that you actually use a little bit of a higher temperature when printing on the first layer. So I will keep this like that. I will keep those temperatures. For the imaginative case that I was using the Amazon filament. Okay, and that is it for the temperatures. And let's go to the speed. So here, guys, don't change anything. Don't touch the acceleration and the jerk control. Everything, if the program knows exactly what your what your printer is, change nothing. It's actually the speed that your nozzle will move when printing. So it's actually how fast this thing right here goes. But we don't want to change that. We don't want to change that if we are not sure that we're changing. We know exactly why we do that. We know exactly why we're changing a value. So change nothing here on the speed. On the travel, on the other side, you can either keep your retraction disabled. I have it enabled right here. You can either have it disabled or enabled. So I can't really showcase what retraction is, but I have a very nice video that you can see for some seconds, and maybe you can understand better by yourselves.
Retraction settings could be one of the most important factors in getting the best prints possible off your 3D printer, but it's also one of the more mysterious.
Hopefully you can hear him.
Slicer. So in this 3D Printing 101, we're going to talk all about retraction.
Let me move it a bit.
Okay, well, first, let's look at a 3D print with retraction completely disabled and see what results we get. I put this simple design together, which requires the print head to travel between.
So as the tutor here says, we have the retraction option disabled this time.
During the print. This will help demonstrate our issue. So this is called stringing, and it's a very undesirable effect of the.
So this is called stringing, guys. The middle ones, as you saw, we want to print.
Extruder using plastic.
Sorry.
As it moves between.
Sorry. Okay. So we want to print. Come on. We want to print something like that, but if we don't enable adhesion, this will happen. Why is this going to happen? Because when I print and I go from here to here to here to here, some of the filament gets stuck on the nozzle, on the last point of the point of printing of the nozzle. And when I move from here to here, it melts and it stacks from point to point. But if I have the adhesion, the retraction enabled, check what's going to happen.
Oozing plastic out as it moves between points of the print. You see, as the extruder pushes filament into the hot end, this creates pressure. This pressure wants to equalize. So simply stopping the extruder won't actually stop plastic oozing out of the nozzle. So this can make a print look terrible. And while tweaking temperatures can help to some degrees, printing with no retraction will always leave a subpar result when printing complicated models. Okay, great, Angus, but how do we stop stringing? Well, this is called retraction. Retraction actually pulls filament back up from the hot end.
Let me show that again. So this is retraction, guys. The extruder takes the filament back inside the nozzle. So at the moment that I move from the first cylinder to the second cylinder, I retract the filament back in the nozzle. So the melted plastic will be inside the nozzle and not melt down when I'm printing.
Stop stringing. Well, this is called retraction. Retraction actually pulls filament back up from the hot end a short amount after each print move. There's actually a bit of a myth around retraction that somehow creates a suction and sucks molten plastic back into the hot end. That's not actually the case. All retraction is doing is relieving that pressure. So when you do a travel move.
So this is it. This is retraction, guys. So as the guy said, okay, we'll need to rephrase that, but you better have it. Well, we better have it in your mind like that instead of what he said. So those problems will not occur when printing with retraction. So what I suggest is make, let's say, 4 to 5 prints with retraction disabled without having retraction. So you may have stringing problems, but your print will be, let's say, it will be easier to print something without retraction. And when you feel safe and you feel okay with your printer, you feel that your printer is printing well, you can click here, enable retraction, and also eliminate those stringing problems. So this is what we need to talk about retraction, and there's some values that you may change. For example, Z-hop when retracted. This is more advanced things. I would actually enable that, the Z-hop when retracting. It's actually your nozzle going up a little bit and then going back down when retracting in order for the filament not to get stuck on your model. But this is not important. This is next level things. So let's move on. Okay, no need to talk about the cooling for the support.
Sorry, Marcos.
Yes.
Sorry. Do you have any participant? Do you have any questions at this point about support? No, about retraction, speed, all these parameters that Marcos has just explained. No. So, okay, I think you can continue, Marco. Okay, thank you, Vangeli. Very well explained. Okay, thank you.
Okay, there are two more things we have to discuss on the Cura Slicer. The support. We actually talked about the support. You can change a lot of things. You can also change the pattern of the support the same way you chose to change the pattern for the infill. But generally, even me, I don't actually change those values. I keep them the same as it is. I have the support placement everywhere. And of course, always keep the generate support clicked right here, because if you don't have it clicked, you won't generate support. It's the same thing as the recommended values here. You just click support. You don't need to change that. If there is a problem with support, if there is, oh, okay, there is actually one important thing, the support overhang angle that we need to talk about. So this is actually, let me open that again. This is the angle that you tell the program that, you know what, after that angle, you will need to put supports. And the one that the program chose for my Ender 3 Pro printer is 39 degrees. So if I had some, for my printer, if I had the print like that, let's say I decide to print this here, the middle one, I would need some supports here because my printer may fail on 45 degrees print. And really, Cura knows better than me what type of overhang angle my printer does. Generally, though, you can Google all of these things on your PC. You can actually, if for example, I decided to go here, maybe Google would say something and say Ender 3 Pro overhang angle. Overhang angle. What is the max overhang angle? Okay, so you can actually try to search. As you can see, somebody said, according to the site, the Ender 3 Pro can handle 60 degrees without needing needing support material. So I can, as you can understand, I can change that to 60, and maybe it will work. But since Cura decided that I need to have it on 39, I actually trust Cura. This is I go with the safe side of prints. Maybe I will print some more supports, but my print will not fail. I will actually print, and I will print well. So I would suggest not changing that if you don't know what you are doing. So this is all about the support. And the last thing we'll talk is the build plate adhesion, the one we talked when we recommend that. I clicked adhesion here, I have it enabled. So as we talked before, the adhesion is the way your print is going to get stuck on the bed. And if I click here and I click on the choices of the adhesion, I have 4 choices. We will go through them real fast. The first one is the skirt. and I can change the count of the lines of the skirt. Let me slice it and show you what a skirt is. So this is the skirt. So the three lines, the three outer lines are the skirt. And why do I need to print this? Because if I print those three lines and they will stick on the bed and they will print well, that means that the inner lines of those are also going to print very well. And that means that when I start printing from line to line, I'm also going to print very well because my print is leveled. It's on the exact level that I need to print. And this is the use of the skirt. I can make more lines if I want to see how it works, and if I want to be sure that my print is going to be good. And now we move to the brim. Let me slice it because it's better if you actually see what the brim is. Oh, so the line count is a little bit, okay, this is a big one. Let me change that to 8. Okay, slicing again. Okay, so the brim is basically this. It's also outer lines, but it looks like more of a base for what you are going to print afterwards. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 lines. It's more like a base, but also it works like the skirt. It helps you understand if your print is leveled, but it also helps your print get stuck on the bed so your print won't fall. So what I would choose for my chameleon here is the brim adhesion type instead of skirt, to be sure that it's not going to fall. The third type of build plate adhesion is the raft. And this is the raft is the one that I recommend you to use for your first 3 to 5 prints. It's basically a more thick base, okay? So this is the first layer you're going to print. As you can see, a base is being created. This is a second layer. This is a third layer. And so my printer is starting to printing a very beautiful base right here that my print is going to get stuck on. The fourth layer is also my base. The fifth layer is my support base, and from the sixth layer, I start, as you can see, I start building my print, which is stuck on all this. So this is the safest way to go. Maybe you will use a little bit more of a material, but it's the safest way to go when printing for the first time. Maybe your bed is not going to be leveled right. Maybe you will need to do some tweaks afterwards, but trust me, for your first 3 to 5 prints, use the raft build plate adhesion because it's the safest one. It's the one that will help you print easy, and your print will not fall down, will not unstuck from the bed. Generally, it's a better way to print. And always we're talking about prints like the chameleon, guys. If you have a print like a box, if you have a box, a cube, and you want to print it, you don't need any type of adhesion. Just click here and click none. No type of adhesion. I don't need a type of adhesion if I have a box here, a cube, because the cube is going to get stuck on the bottom of the bed. So the last thing is no adhesion. we talk about the other three. The last thing is no type of adhesion when I actually have a very good base. So if I have something like this, okay, these are failed prints, but generally if I have a cube like this, I don't actually need to put anything to make an adhesion because it gets stuck by itself. So this is all. Mr. Paolo Zurico says that he changed his Ender 3 Pro to 45 degrees. Okay, risky move, not a lot, not so risky because it's not a big difference. I think it's going to work, Mr. Paolo. And yes, so I think that this is all I wanted to talk about for the parameters. Now, let me show you the last thing you will need to do. Since I chose everything here, I have all the parameters changed the way I want to. I will need to click here. No, sorry. I will need to click here and create here and go here and say and click on create profile from current settings. So I click here and it asks me to put a name on my profile. So let me call it webinar 6. I think it's webinar 6. Either way, it doesn't matter. Profile for Ender 3. Click OK, close. And now let's say I have my program closed, okay? And a week after I decide to print something else. I open my program, okay, I drag another type, let's say this is not a chameleon, okay, this is something else. I drag my model and I have all of my profiles here. Let's say I had the dynamic quality. I can go back, go to the custom profiles, go to webinar 6 profile for Ender 3, and now I have all the parameters ready to print. So I don't need to do anything else. I just click slice. Okay, I go to the preview. I check my layers. I see if my print is going to go well. And if I believe that it's going to go well, I save it to disk and print. So you will not need to go through the same process again and again. You will do it for once. You will have to be specific. You will have to be sure what you are doing. Save the profile in order for you to use it for the next prints and start printing, guys. So let me stop here for now. And Thanos, do you believe that we can continue, or do you believe that we can go to the questions chapter?
Well, I think we don't have too much time. It's only 15 minutes until 8 o'clock. I think it is more important to give some time for questions to the participants and not continue with another slicer. I don't think.
Okay.
I think it's pointless. It's better to understand the parameters that you have just explained.
Mm-hmm.
So if any participants wants to ask something, maybe you want to explain you again some parameter or some settings of this slicer, you are free to ask.
Okay.
Me, Marcos, can I ask you something?
Of course.
I have just installed the new version of Ultimate Cura.
Okay.
And I don't have all the options that you have in the profiles. For example, in support, I have only generate support. In the building, in the speed, for example, I have only asked the print speed. That is depend on the printer.
Not, I don't think so. Maybe you can, let me share it really fast. Wait, I think I can help you with that. Okay. I think everybody sees my screen now. Okay, so here, if you click here, you can change the parameters. Either you can change the look on from basic to advanced to expert. So let's say, for example, the quality.
Sorry,
If I
sorry,
keep it on
Marco.
expert, yes.
I don't know if the others can see your screen, but I don't see any interaction with your screen. I don't know about the others.
Okay.
I can see.
Neither do we.
Okay.
I can see.
Okay, stop sharing and start sharing again.
Yeah.
Okay, I think now you can see. You can.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
So I'm on the parameters that we were discussing before. If I click on the upper right corner here, I can choose basic, advanced, or expert. For example, for my quality parameters, if I have it on basic, I can just have my the printer, the program shows just the layer height. If I change that to advanced, it shows me some more. If I change that to expert, it shows me a lot more. So this is a way for Cura Slicer to help you to protect you from yourself, actually. So if you are not a expert, don't go to expert. Either not even me, not even I go to expert. I use just the advanced settings, and we most probably talked about the basic settings. We talked about the layer height. We talked about the wall thickness. We talked about okay, I think from the top part. Okay, here we talked about the ironing, which doesn't have. I need to click on advanced, and here I can. No. Oh yes, yes. Here I can add the printer shows me the ironing option, but generally I would suggest having that on advanced. Did I answer the question?
Yes, thank you very much, Marcos. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
Other questions?
For those of you who don't know, guys, Ultimaker Cura program is a free program. You can download. You can just click Ultimaker Cura download. It's a free program, and it's actually said to be if not the best, one of the best slicers out there.
Yes. And have in mind that the settings that Marcos has just explained to you, these settings are the same even if you use any other slicer. In the most of the slicers, exactly the same, because he presented you the basics. When we are going to advanced settings in different slicing programs, then yes, probably we will find the differences between these softwares, but all the basic settings are the same in all slicing softwares.
Exactly.
So,
no,
yes,
go on, Thanos, go on.
No, I just want to to highlight that this software, like all the programs and all softwares, need a lot of practice. The benefit with these webinars is that you can watch, of course, online the webinar, but you have the ability to watch it by your pace and the time you want in our platform. So you can watch the recorded video and at the same time practicing with Ultimaker Cura in your PC. And this is the best way for you in order to be practiced with all the settings.
Agreed. One last thing that I want to say is that after you maybe rewatch our webinar, guys, I would suggest going to YouTube and finding the best preferences for your printer. So let's say that you have a Prusa printer or some other model. It's very important to understand how your printer works, how your machine works. What are the best preferences for your printer? So those preferences that I used for my printer doesn't mean that they are the same exact ones for yours. If you have an Ender 3 Pro, you can follow exactly what I did and start printing, because those values are used for all the Ender 3 Pro printers. But if you have another model from another manufacturer, follow the basics, but on the specific values like temperature, for example, like speeds or supports, maybe you will need to search on your own, do your own search and see what are the best options for your printers. Okay.
Any other question?
Today there are not a lot of questions.
Okay, probably there is no other question.
I think that means that I'm getting better.
So thank you all for your time today. Thank you for joining us and submitting these few questions. As I said to you, the recorded file will be uploaded to our platform in a few days. Also, the questionnaire for this webinar, we will send it to you immediately after the uploading of the recorded file. The presentation of this, no, there is no presentation actually. It was only sharing, Marco shared the screen and presented through the software. So there is no PPT presentation to upload in our website. So that's all for today. Thank you again. We hope to see you soon in our next webinar. In the next two webinars, we will present you 5 lesson plans that with the cooperation of Protoporia, another partner of the Inside project, we have prepared for inclusion classrooms with visual impaired students and with 3D printed educational material. So thank you again and see you soon in about 2 weeks. Don't forget to complete the evaluation form. I have uploaded in the chat, and also as soon as you leave this meeting, the evaluation form should be uploaded automatically.